Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. It's the Friday Night Love stream. How is everyone doing this evening? So sorry I'm late. I was over with Dan with Talk is Cheap, the K2D4 network. He had on Allison Coe and Lauren Hansen. And all three of them, I plan on seeing them next week in Sedona. So I wanted to chime in and, I got caught up in the moment, laughing along with them and everything. So that was a lot of fun. But I do have Ronnie from Florida on the line with me. Let me make sure you're unmuted here. How are you doing today, Ronnie?
I'm doing good.
Awesome.
Doing great.
So, yeah, for those who don't remember, she was looking for a place in, was it Virginia?
Yeah, Virginia.
Right, okay. Virginia, and you finally got a place that might be your next place you call home, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's the one. When I saw it a long time ago, and I just completely blew by it because it was painted red wall right inside the front door as the first picture you see. And I was like, oh, yuck. And so I just kind of blew it off. But it turns out that it's a beautiful home. It's actually a bigger house than I would want, but hopefully if we have room, people will come and visit us. So it's
37 acres, was it?
Yeah, 37 acres.
I just pulled it up on the screen. Is that the barn in the back there?
Yeah, that's the barn. So you look, the road is at the top of a hill. The house is a little bit down the hill. Further down is the barn, and then there's a pond somewhere down there, too, a big pond. So it's a really, really gorgeous place. And that's, most of it is all natural. It's left natural woods back behind the barn there, that pasture area. So there's room. I can do my greenhouses, and it'll be really exciting.
Oh, so wow, it's nice. It's like instant, like I said in the email, it's like an instant meditation just to go out there, and I bet just all the sounds of nature are just awesome.
Yeah, there is actually, my son went out there Wednesday with the realtor and did a video. We did it on FaceTime, and it has a waterfall. And I saw the waterfall in a picture, but I thought it was like far out in the woods somewhere. It's right by the house somewhere. They couldn't find it, but they could hear it. And they're like, there's a waterfall. I could hear a waterfall. So yeah, I'm going to have to set up a little Zen garden over there so I can meditate and listen to the water.
Oh, I love the water sounds while you're meditating. I listen to those videos a lot where they have that, and man, it's amazing how when you put your headphones on, it's all in stereo, how it's like you're right there. I mean, you could totally visualize yourself there, and you can, what I like to do is I like to change up the scene and still make the sound work for it. I don't know if anybody else does that, but like, have a completely different, beautiful scene, and, and then the sound still works for it, and just
I never even thought of doing that.
Yeah, it's fun. Sometimes the water is just so real. Yeah. I'm looking at this, and the way the fence like zigzags back, it's triggering something with the artist in me to want to draw that the way that it, in perspective, it's going away from you in a zigzag way and back probably to the pond back there, I imagine, through those trees.
I think the pond is actually just off the picture to the left.
Oh, okay.
And because the pond is closer to the house than the barn. And then you see there's it looks like a ditch past the barn. That's actually a creek that comes out from the pond. The overflow from the pond flows out, and this all goes way downhill. So they had all that rain last week from the storm. Mm-hmm. And I was really worried. My son just got into their house with his girlfriend, and It's like, oh no, you're on a hill, but you're down the hill, and they've had flooding before. Apparently, what happened was the guys had a sump pump in their basement, and they lost electricity. So when water started coming in through, just through the ground,
Mm-hmm.
it couldn't. The sump pump didn't turn on, so they had a little bit of flooding. So they put in like a battery backup for the sump pump and stuff. So that should be good. And this house, I was really surprised. There was nothing. There was nowhere around the house was there any kind of evidence that there had been a water issue,
Mm-hmm.
except for one spot on a patio that you could see where runoff from a downspout, instead of being taken out to the garden,
Mm-hmm.
it just went across the patio. But it didn't. Even then, it didn't approach the house, even with all the rain that they got. So I was very relieved, because that, after living in Florida, I mean, we had, the year that I got married was 2004, and the hurricane and tropical storm that year, I think it was a tropical storm,
Mm-hmm.
we got 24 inches of rain in a day.
Oh,
And
wow.
the ground was already saturated, so it was 24 inches on top of the ground, because it just had nowhere to go.
Oh.
And our area, the county hadn't cleaned out our ditches like they were supposed to, so the water wasn't flowing out either. And so when it stopped raining, it was a half an inch from my back door from coming into my house. I was like, that just, so I'm really uptight about water issues.
You guys don't have basements. You don't have basements in Florida, do you?
Not here. I think in different areas they may. I know we were talking about Ocala before, and they have some hills, so some of those people may feel secure enough to have a basement added.
Right. Yeah, we don't have basements here in Oklahoma, but there was this one house that had sort of like a storm cellar, and there's no sump pump or anything in there, and something fell. It has a cover over it, or it had a cover over it at the time, but something fell down the crack, and I heard like gadoosh, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it was filled with water. I'm like, oh my gosh, just imagine a tornado's coming. We're all gonna go and run down there and drown.
Yeah, really.
Be our luck.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm so excited to finally live in the hills. I've lived on a mountain when I was up in New York, upstate New York,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like the last mountain. So, if you really wanted to be in the hills, you had to travel to them, and I rarely had time to do that. I was working and single mom at the time, so I had no time. And then the one time I took to go and drive around, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to drive and get lost out in these woods out here. So I just started taking turns and driving without having any idea where I was. And I wound up right back in my town. I couldn't get lost. Everything in New York, every road is attached to every other road. It's the most funny thing when you look at a map, because I guess it's been, developed for so long.
Yeah.
So there's all these little side roads that go off, and they all wind up coming back to someplace you've been. So.
Well, when do you plan on, if things go right, how long until you plan on moving here to Virginia? Just for those people, I've got Ronnie in Florida on the screen, but I wanted to make sure people know this isn't Florida. This is actually Virginia, where you're planning on moving. So hopefully in the future we'll have Ronnie and Virginia on the screen, right?
Hey, yeah, that will be awesome. Hoping to get there around December, November, as early occupancy. I have to scrape all the money together for the down payment, so that will happen probably in January. And so hopefully they'll let us do an early occupancy so I can go in and paint those red walls before I have to live there.
They stick out like a sore thumb, huh?
Yeah, I don't know why. I like red, but I do not like red walls. It just bugs me. I don't know why. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, red. I had, red tennis shoes when I was a kid, and my favorite color was red. But I've gone through the rainbow. my favorite color, my room was yellow for a while, and then everything had to be blue for a while, and then everything was green for a while. So now I'm into purple. That's my new favorite for now is purple. But when people ask me, what's your favorite color? I'm like, the rainbow. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm getting like that too, where I just like, man, it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in because I love all the colors, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, speaking of rainbows, when I was in Spain, there was a big rainstorm, and I had to go to work, and I was driving, and there was a break in the clouds, and there was a rainbow up in front of me, and this is the only time this has ever happened to me. I actually drove into the rainbow and could still see it around me.
Wow.
It was awesome, because the rain was still falling. You know, it was like a beam of light was shining
Yeah.
just into the right place, so it was actually making rainbow all around me. It was so cool.
But no pot of gold,
did I dream
right?
that? No pot of gold. Well, maybe there was, but I missed it. I was on my way to work, so I didn't pull over.
You know what? You've
And
got to get your. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought your story was over. I didn't mean to cut off, but I'm sitting here
no,
looking
go
at this.
ahead.
I'm looking at this image, and I'm like, oh man, you're gonna move in when all the leaves have already fallen off the tree. It would be awesome if your son could go over there, here when they turn all orangey and yellowy, and get a picture, because that's just gonna look fabulous. In fact, I see one of the trees is already starting to turn. It looks like back there.
Well, I don't know when this picture was taken. This was from the website.
Oh, okay.
You know, the listing.
Yeah.
So, but it looked like there was one tree that may have lost its leaves, but it's too early, so I actually think the tree died. Which
Starved
is a
out of
shame.
water.
It's a really pretty. Yeah, it was a really pretty. It looked like an apple tree or something.
Yeah.
But they have fruit trees, which was another thing. It's like a lot of these properties that I looked at.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why don't these people plant fruit trees? Everybody loves fruit trees. If you have a yard, plant a fruit tree tomorrow. They're not that expensive. You can get little tiny ones. They grow. I actually right now I have a worm compost bin.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I get avocado or a mango, I just throw the seed in there, and for some reason they sprout in there really, really fast. Where, you know, if I try to do it on the counter, it takes like a month before an avocado will sprout. These things in 2 weeks, I've got a seedling started. I do not know. I think it might be the heat is just like shooting it out. So I've got two avocados and two or three mangoes. And I just threw another avocado seed in there today, so we'll see if I get another one started.
Well, when I was into growing, they said worm castings were really great for plants. So
They are, but only up to 50% of the soil mixture. After 50%, it's too dense, and it's like planting in clay.
Oh,
and when
okay.
it dries out, if it dries out, it just turns into a rock. And when you mix it with sand, it can turn into like cement. So,
wow.
Yeah, about a quarter of the mix or 30% of the mix should be worm castings, and it's awesome. And it's not a really nutrient rich, but it's all of the other things that are in it. It does have water holding capacity, and they also have, it's called a chitin that comes off of the worm, and for some reason it helps the plants that grow in it to be really better able to resist any kind of disease or pest attack. So yeah, very interesting stuff. I was fascinated with them. That's why I had to get them.
Yeah, when I lived in Georgia, there was a lot of people that had like peach trees and stuff. I think it's just harder to grow fruit up north, you know what I mean? Because I'm sure that people grow oranges and everything in Florida, right? Because the weather it's like sunny all the time, and it rains every day.
Actually, it's really hard because when I moved into my house that I was living in, it had three orange trees, and all three of them died because of being flooded. And then the next year we had 2 years of drought, and they died from the drought, the ones that I had left. The only one that survived was a grapefruit tree, and that one, the last flood killed it. So, they're really, really fussy. If you get a freeze, you can lose them. And we do. We're far enough north that we get a freeze every once in a while. Not a hard freeze like up north, but, frost that'll kill the plants.
Yeah, I guess
So
with the way the weather's so wild these days, it's probably hard to grow stuff anywhere now without, helping it along, covering it whenever, you get frost and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, it always was though. But like when we moved here, I was just a kid, and it was all orange groves. All the town was Merritt Island,
Hmm.
and it was just all the way north up to Titusville was orange groves, and then as you drove to Orlando, you got into Orlando. Orlando was nothing but orange groves, especially where like Disney is now. All that area was all orange groves as you drove over to Tampa. And now, they had freezes where they just lost so many of the trees, and they just decided not to replant, and they sold off the property, and now you have Orlando all big and developed. So,
Well,
yeah, but it's been a big weather change. I've noticed because I was away for a while when I
hmm
went into the military, and then I lived up north. And when I came back, the weather was like completely different. We used to get from Orlando, there would be like a huge roll cloud. It just looked like a wave coming, and it would rain for an hour, and then it would be gone, and that was it for the day. And you could set your watch by it. I mean, literally, here was the storm. On Merritt Island, it was at 3 o'clock. In Cocoa, it was at 2 o'clock. So you could really set your watch by it. And then when it's just completely different. Now the storms come from every weird direction. They hardly ever come from Orlando anymore. They come at all times of day and night. There's no pattern left to it. So I don't know if the time that I was growing up here was the anomaly or if now is the anomaly. So
yeah, I know when I visited there when I was a teenager, which would be 30 years ago, I guess. Yeah, I'm
you are an
44.
old man.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a
You're
grandpa.
younger than me. You're younger than me. So,
But it rained. There was like a sprinkle in the afternoon, and it only lasted, I want to say, a half hour. I can't really remember. I know it wasn't long. It wasn't like it ruined the day, but it was. Somebody was like, "Oh, it'll be gone in a little bit. It rains every day," and I'm like, "What? It rains every day in Florida?" They're like, "Yeah,
yeah.
it just sprinkles in the afternoon." I'm like, "Oh, that's nice. Kind of cool everything off."
Yeah, that's what it did. It really was nice, and it was predictable, and you could plan around it. And I knew that every day when I would ride my bike home from school that I was going to get soaked. So, because it came right when we got out of school. So,
You
yeah.
could set your watch by it practically, huh?
Yeah, you absolutely could. And then my sister was so mean. We were sitting out in the yard watching one of these big waves come in, and she's like, "You know what that is?" And I was like, "It's clouds." And she said, "No, it's smog." I cried. I was like, "I don't want the smog. I don't want the smog." So she was really funny and mean and wonderful. She taught me so much.
That's siblings for you, right?
Oh yeah,
Well, let me
yeah.
ask you this. I hate to put you on the spot like this, but have you considered having some kind of like a retreat or getaway on the property? That's an awful lot of land, and
Yeah,
you
I
know,
actually have been thinking about that because I love this community so much, and I can just really imagine hosting people to come and do gatherings.
yeah,
I really would be excited to do that.
that would be really awesome because I mean it could be a camping event, and you could probably get a few of those Johnny on the spots out there and charge enough that you can pay for all that and you won't have to come out of your pocket with it. But I think that would be awesome. It's so beautiful there.
It really is. It's a beautiful spot. My son said that just driving up to the property was beautiful too. You can't see it. It actually only has like one little tiny spot where you can see out past the trees to the rest of the mountains,
Hmm.
and you can see one mountain sticking up, and you have to see that from up at the top of the property. But the way this property lays, there's actually three crests of hills, and then there's a mountain. The rest of the mountain is behind it. So it's a kind of interesting layout. And that my one reservation was that there were the big power lines that cross the front corner of the property, and
Hmm.
I was like, ooh, how far away is that? So I measured, and it was 400 feet away. And if anybody has any information about that the distance of EMF damage to your cells or DNA or anything, then let me know. The only thing I found was 200 feet, that they were able to measure an effect on people who had lived within 200 feet of power lines.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this is the big transmission lines, not the regular house lines.
Yeah, I remember watching a special about that, and they were showing how since it's government property, they always put like schools and government buildings by it. I'm like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you're sending your kids to pick up all this electronic induction, and now with the cell towers, they were showing how there was this little shopping center with a cell tower right there, and they were taking measurements, and they're like, these people that work in this all day are being exposed to an unhealthy amount of radiation from the cell tower, and I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah. I'm actually going up at the end of this month for my birthday. I'm going to hang out with my son, and then that week I'm going to go see the property myself. So I want to buy an EMF meter and take it with me and just make sure, because right now that's the only thing that'll keep us from being there.
Oh, you know what you can do? There's a free app actually that you can get on your phone, and
really,
yeah, and you can walk around. I've done it too. It's amazing because you can actually pick up, like, I tried it like on the speakers on the door and stuff, and it even picks up since it's the magnetic, it's still sort of induction, electromagnetic, and the magnets on the speakers on the door in the car and the radio, and you can hold it up to another cell phone, and of course it can't completely zero out because the cell phone itself puts out a little bit, but you can still walk around and you can actually pick up. I mean, you can even check your wall to see if there's a power line behind there. I've had it. It picks it up. It's amazing. So, and it's free. So there's a couple of them out there. Oh, that's
awesome.
Yeah.
If you find the name, you'll have to post it in the comment section when you post the video, if you can find it.
I think it's just EMF detector or something like that. I'll look. My phone's in the tripod right now, but I'll pull it out and see what it's called. But I'm pretty sure it was just EMF. I don't know if you have an Android or I have an Android, so I just went to the Play Store and put an EMF detector.
Oh, no, I got iPhone.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never had any iPhone products. Do they have free apps with iPhone too? Yeah,
some of them are free. A lot of them have, they do the same thing where you get it for free, but then they want you to buy everything once you're inside. So.
Oh, right. Or they play ads or something. I think it's.
Yeah. So it's pretty much the same. My dad was like Mr. Apple. He got into Apple computers when they first came out. I have a picture of my son with the oldest Mac they made, sitting on pillows playing. It was a game called Super Bunny, and so he started doing pixel art when he was 3 years old on the computer, and now he's doing graphics and software design, and So his whole experience kind of pulled together now, and his goal is he wants to make a video game. So everybody send him creativity and gumption. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually did the art for a game that you can download called, I think it's called Slap the Mosquito. Slap the Mosquito.
Yeah, I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, there's a little monkey in the middle, and the mosquitoes come out, and you just tap them. And I had to make the art of them being squashed on the screen and stuff. It was pretty fun.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, he does. He likes music. He reminds me. He should have been like Leonardo da Vinci or something. I mean, he's artistic, but he's also so analytical. He could do calculus in 7th and 8th grade. It took me until I was like 30 to get algebra.
That's funny. Yeah, I've had to learn it like 3 times. It's like every time that I have to learn it again, it's like, because I went to college twice with a big gap between, and I was like, what is this again? I had to relearn it all over again. It does get easier, but it doesn't stick with me like riding a bike. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's my dad. I was taking my class and I forgot what the quadratic equation was. I was like, Dad, what's the quadratic equation? And he told me. I was like, he had been out of school for 50 years then. And
wow,
like, oh
that's
my
amazing.
God. Yeah, well, he was total electrical engineer, just really. And then he got into computers, and that was it. The rest of his life was all about computers. So anyway, everything that we had, he would pass on all his. Actually, the iPad that I have now is inherited. So that's
nice.
yeah. He always hooked us up. But then after he passed away, we were lost. It was like, well, how do we do this? Who do we ask? I don't know.
That's so funny because I try to teach my kids for that very reason. You know how they say, feed a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime or whatever. So I try to do that with my kids. So one time my daughter had this flat tire and she called me up and I went out there and I'm like, now one day you're going to be in your high heels and you're going to be trying to break this lug nut off of there. And I'm going to be dead and gone, because I figured, something would happen at some point or whatever. So I'm like, you put your heel up on here and you hook it on this, this tire iron and you just use the weight of your body and you break it off of there. And I was like showing her how to change the tire or whatever. So she had a flat, like, I don't know, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and didn't call me up or anything. She was out there with her heels and did it just like I said. She didn't wait for me to die to do it. But that was so funny that, and the cop pulled up, saw her on the side of the highway and pulled up right at the end. And he was like telling her how proud he was of her for changing her own tire. Like, no, he's like, most of the time women in their heels can't change tires. So, anyway, that was kind of cool that she's real independent. So she didn't want to call.
Well, she had a good dad. That's awesome.
Thank you. Well,
yeah, it was funny because Dad he taught other people, but he didn't have the patience to deal with us. It's like guys who work in construction.
Yeah.
You go to their house and everything is broken, because they're sick of it. By the time they get home, they don't want to do it anymore. No, you get out a hammer and go nail that nail, lady. Come on.
Yeah, I told that with my wife because she loved that game, The Sims, years ago. And whenever you'd work on something, you'd have this like little test tube thing above you that would fill up with experience, and then you'd learn how to do things quicker. Well, there was like a maintenance one, like for fixing things in your own house. And I'm like, you've got to get your maintenance thing up. I'm not always going to be here, and you got to at least see how I do this. This stuff is really easy once you know. And so I've always tried to show people how to do things, and just because you never know if you're not going to be around, or even if you're at work and the water's squirting everywhere, you should know how to turn the water off and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, no kidding, man. That happened to me. I was in the military. I was stationed in Spain, and I rented a house out in town. Well, we went back to the States, and when we came back, I went up, unlocked the door, and opened it, and water just came pouring out of the house. I was like, oh my God. So yeah, they had one of those real small water heaters, but it was mounted like up in a closet, and for some reason the line burst and just kept pouring. So I don't know how long it sat like that, but fortunately everything was fine. It was like really weird. It took a few days for the house to dry out. I ran a fan and everything was good. No mold, no nothing. They had a different way of building. I think that it was like a concrete house with plaster wall.
Yeah.
So, there was no drywall at all. So,
well,
it was fun.
Here it seems like they don't, I guess they're not as strict with the codes here in Oklahoma as they were when I lived in Missouri. So you have to actually go outside in the yard and turn off the main water, where when I lived, and maybe it's because they don't have basements, but when I lived in Missouri, you could always go down in the basement and turn off this main water, knob or whatever, and it would kill the water in the whole house. So if anything happened, it was fairly easy. But now you have to actually get that tool out, and just like the water guy that comes out and turns off your water, you have to do it the same way and turn it off by the street. If
Is
anything
Missouri
happens.
colder?
Yeah, it is colder, definitely.
They might do that because of the freezing.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point.
Put the shut off inside. But my house didn't have one. And when I moved in, I was like, oh, no, I'm not going out there with that T-handle thing. I've been dealing with fire ants every time I need to turn my water off.
Right.
Because I was doing a bunch of remodeling stuff. I was like, this isn't flying. So I got myself a little, that tank of gas and welded on my little, not welded, but soldered on.
Yeah.
my own little handle at the front of the house.
Wow.
I was like, yep. Yeah, and it held up. It's been 15 years there and still there. So,
Nice.
yeah, it was hard. It was so hard to get that stupid pipe to heat up. It was much more difficult than I imagined it would be because I was electronics and I did soldering. So, and that stuff, it was how fast can you touch it and get your soldering iron away before you burn the board up, you know.
Right.
So this thing was like, okay, well, I'm going to sit here for an hour heating this pipe up. It was different.
Yeah,
So.
it really is a lot different. And if you do it too fast, then you get a cold solder joint that ends up breaking. And so,
Yep.
yeah, that
Yep.
was my first bit of college. I went to ITT Tech to learn all that stuff. It was a lot of fun, though. And
I discovered that I really didn't like it. I liked. I was in the Navy and I started out on aircraft and then went into the shop where they worked on the black boxes, and I hated it. I wanted to be outside on the flight line. I loved the airplanes, so and I liked the variety, because you got to get involved in anything that was going on. If you volunteered to go work someplace, they'd be like, yeah, here's a wrench, turn it. So nobody ever turned away a free hand, so it was so fun.
I never got a job doing anything like that, but I can't tell you how many things have broken in the house because so many times things will break at the jack, and then you open it up, and all you have to do is heat up the solder on it because it's just, a loose connection, and it melts right back to it, and then you look like the hero for fixing stuff. So, like, whoa, he pulled out that soldering iron and fixed that, and it's so easy. I mean, you don't usually even have to add any extra solder to it. Just have to remelt it back to it and say, well, be careful plugging it in and out of there. Don't be so rough, Laptops and CD players, everything wears out right there, seems like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you look at the way they do the electronics, oh, man, it is so shoddy. Yeah. I'm surprised anything lasts. It's pretty bad. Yeah, they don't have a lot of quality control. Although now, a lot of it is being done robotically, so it's made a difference. They're not making people work as fast as they possibly can in horrible conditions. So.
But the bad side to that I've noticed is a lot of times you'll get in and you can no longer fix it yourself anymore. It's just too miniature. It's like, how am I supposed to get in there and heat that up, man? It's like...
Oh, yeah, and you've got 100 layers inside that board that you can't even see. Yeah. That's my washing machine broke, and it was, I could see that it burned out 2 components, and I was like, well, let me just get these components, but I couldn't find what they had been, and I didn't know because they were burned up. So I was like, well, let me just buy a new motherboard, and they're like, oh, no, I wanted them to replace the components, and they were like, no, we just replace the whole board. We don't fix anything like that anymore.
Yep, they just bring the whole board out, and you got to pay $100 for that whole thing when it's one little 50 cent.
$400. They wanted $400. I was like, you're crazy. I can buy a washing machine new, and that's what I did. I went and bought a new washing machine.
Yeah.
Like, forget it. I'm not paying $400 for that.
Yeah, my dad.
Actually, I'm sorry. I just dumped the burned out resistor and got it to work for about another year.
Oh, really?
And then I bought a new machine, yeah.
Yeah, it's like my dad was fixing TVs, and then it just getting the parts got so expensive that he ended up just having to tell people, it's going to cost just as much as going and buying a new set at this point. You'd probably, once they went to big screens with the rear projection and all that stuff, it's too expensive,
Yep. It's not worth it to them.
Get a new one and get the warranty.
Shame.
Yeah.
It just, just fill up the landfills. It's like disposable society now. It's kind of sad. And I miss things actually lasting, I miss quality clothing that you could wear for, I have T-shirts that are 10 years old, but if I buy a T-shirt now, I have to throw it out in a year or two,
Yeah.
It
was the same way growing up. We had the same washer and dryer. I remember my dad replacing the belt in the dryer once, but other than that, it was like we had the same washer and dryer the whole time growing up. You can't keep stuff that long now. It's like you're lucky if you get 5 or if you get 10 years out of anything, you're super lucky,
Oh, yeah. The quality is really bad. But it's by design. They don't make money if you're not buying. So It's designed to fail. I really believe that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I have kept you on the phone for an hour, mister, and I know you have other people who want to talk to you. So
Has it been that long?
Yeah, well, 45 minutes. It's 9. So,
Oh, okay. No, we
about
started a
40
little
minutes.
bit late. I have 34 minutes for the
Oh,
show.
okay. But still, I don't want to hog up.
No,
But
you
I
got
did want to
25 more
talk.
minutes left. No, I'm
Okay.
just teasing.
Well,
no,
well, there is a spiritual thing that I wanted to talk about with people because I had a really, really horrible week, and it was really bad because it was also my anniversary of my mom dying last year and my dad dying 2012. They died in the same week. And so I was really, really trying to deal with my grief, but it felt more than that. And a lot of people have been saying that the energy has been like really harsh. And I realized that everything that I was reacting to was because I was not able to forgive. That I was, I was like bottling up and letting things build up because I couldn't just let go and say, you know what, we're all okay. Everybody is on a path and we're all okay. And I don't have to fix everything. And I don't have to, because that was my whole life, was fixing things. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not here to fix everything. I'm here to fix me. And if I focus on fixing me and everybody else is fixing themselves too, then we're all going to be okay. And so forgiveness, I just want everyone to hold on to that and really forgive yourselves. Go in and find that old garbage. My thing was my mom, when she had a stroke on September 5th. Mm-hmm. And a week before that, we had a huge fight where I drove her. She fell and she broke 3 bones. So she had been in rehab and she had to go into assisted living for a little while. And I was taking her from there to a doctor's appointment, and she was just incredibly rude to me. Mm-hmm. And this had become a habit with her, that she was just treating me really badly. And I knew why it was happening and that she needed to deal with it because it was a childhood issue for her. Mm-hmm. And she lost her mother when she was 15, but her mother and her sister, it was a big thing. So she never forgave her past, and I could see how it was affecting her and that she was bringing it into our relationship. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so I told her, that's enough. You cannot treat me like this. I'm not your whipping boy or your whipping post. And, you just got to stop. I'm done with this. Mm-hmm. If you can't treat me better, then we're going to have to find somebody to hire to help you because I can't let you treat me like this anymore. And so she didn't speak to me for most of that week. And after her stroke, I found on her phone where she had been writing me a letter. And she was apologizing. So, yeah, but we never got to have that conversation because she had her stroke. And then she passed away. So that lack of forgiveness on my part, because I couldn't let that go. I couldn't just forgive without an apology from her, without her admitting that she had done something wrong. Mm-hmm. It prevented me from being there. Right. I wouldn't have been there with her when it happened. It was early in the morning. But, we could have had lunch and, instead of not talking to each other, Yeah. So forgiveness is really, 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 really huge. And forgiving your own mistakes and not holding on to them, not beating yourself up over it, but looking at why it happened. And for me, I am a very judgmental person. I am all, kind of law and order and unfairness. I'm total Libra. Everything has to be fair. Right. Life isn't fair, and I've had a really hard time dealing with that. So, I have to forgive myself and that's what I've been working on. And I want everybody to look at your own relationships and see, you really can. You can follow them back and find the roots of it and forgive it, Forgive the people who hurt you. Forgive yourself for reacting badly. We're only human. We're not perfect. We're going to react badly sometimes. So, but you have to forgive yourself for it, and then you can move forward. So this energy this month, Lori Lothian was talking about this today. She put out a video, and she was talking about it, that the energy for the past few weeks has been like really, people are angry and reactive kind of thing. And it's true, I've seen it and felt it. And I have conversations with my guardian angel, and it winds up that I keep throwing things out until I get a response, and then it actually, this sounds crazy. I feel the connection to my angel through my solar plexus, and it is strong. It actually feels like somebody is tickling me inside, and it's powerful. And I can feel my head nod or shake very, very minutely. So I get yes and no answers. I don't have actual conversations. And he's doing this on purpose because I had an incident that affected my trust in my own intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's making me build that back up. And he's doing that by not talking openly, where other people just get tons of information, I get nothing. So, but once I get it, he'll tell me, okay, yeah, that was right. Nope, you're not there yet. And I keep exploring. So what I have gotten from him is that at the end of this month, there is going to be a really, really powerful wave of energy. And that everything that I went through was necessary, because if you're not clearing out your garbage, it's going to hit you really, really hard. And then I watch a channeler, and she put out a video after that pretty much said the same thing, that at the end of this month into the beginning of October, it's going to be another big, big wave of energy, and just hold on to your hats because it's going to knock you over. So clear, heal, whatever you can do, really, really be turning inside right now and looking at your relationships, and just let things go. Let things go, forgive yourself, and be ready. So and then for me, what happened was I had ordered some things for my son for his house on Amazon, and everything kept coming up as being delivered on 9/28. It's going to be delivered on 9/28. And this is Amazon, who's supposed to be 2-day delivery, right?
Right.
And everything was coming up 9/28, 9/28, 3 times. It's like, what is going on with 9/28? So I asked my angel, is something happening 9/28? And I got a nod. So something is happening 9/28. I'm not betting my life on it. I wouldn't bet $10 on it. But just, look at the end of this month as being significant for your growth. Now, the channeler said that it is going to bring in a change. I'm trying to remember. Bring in a change that is going to cause people to, you won't just truth. It'll be like that movie with Jim Carrey where he couldn't lie, You'll want to lie, but truth will come out instead, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So truth is just going to start coming out. People are going to be really uncomfortable and really able to see if somebody is prevaricating or not being fully honest. It's going to be really obvious to everyone. So that was one of the changes, and then there was another. I cannot remember everything she said. Her name. I always feel bad if I'm talking to you. I'm like, if I'm dropping names of other channels, then it feels kind of awkward. But her name
I don't mind at all.
Okay, her channel is Sheila Marie, but SheeLaGh, Maria, Maria, 2 words. and she's really good. She has a lot of clearings and stuff that I've found really, really helpful, and I've been doing a lot of those, and really helped me.
Actually,
Very, very good.
when you go back into the chat, feel free to post that link in there if you know the video that you're referring to. You can. You're a mod, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah, you should be able to post the link in there because I'm sure other people will want to check that out. I mean, I enjoy all of the information. It's hard to keep up at this point, but I'm still like more information. Paste it in there, please.
Okay, well, I am done, and I love your show. I love you so much. I love everybody who in your chat. I mean, this is like my happy place. When I come here, I just feel so relaxed and calm, and like I can talk about this stuff. I can't talk about this stuff with my husband. He just looks at me like I'm out of my mind.
We
I
all
think he thinks
understand.
I'm half possessed or something. So,
Trust me, we all understand. We all have somebody, if not everybody, that's like that. So you're
yeah.
in good company here, that's for sure.
Well, awesome. And when I move to Virginia, not if, when I'm in that house, you guys are invited, man. Everybody.
Awesome.
we'll
Well,
have a we'll have a great big lawn party.
that sounds awesome. And when you go for your birthday at the end of the month, take some shots and you can call back in because I'd love to see. I know that's going to look beautiful with the autumn colors. I can already
Oh,
tell.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping. Fall is my favorite season, so I'm just crossing my fingers that I'll catch at least the start of it there.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So, yeah, but
Well,
that
that's
means early winter, so I know everybody else
oh
is going,
yeah,
no.
yeah. You're gonna miss the one great season all year. Down in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah, yeah. But that's okay. I've had plenty of them. I'm done.
You ready for some snow and
Oh, yeah, I hope.
bundling up and going outside and
I
walking through the
want
leaves?
boots and sweaters and coats and scarves. I have like 5 scarves that my sister made before she passed away, and I'd never get a chance to wear them. I have hats she made, and I can't wear those. So,
Oh wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
and it's
it'll be
perfect for
awesome.
cuddling too. When it's
Oh
cold.
yeah, there is that fireplace, cuddle up. Yep, it'll be so fun. He doesn't know that yet.
Get the marshmallows ready.
That's right. All righty. I
Well,
will
lots of
talk
love
to you
to you.
soon, and bless to you too. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye,
Bye bye.
everyone.
Bye bye. Awesome. Ronnie in Florida. Oh, let me get back to my. Oh, goodness. I wasn't ready for her to hang up yet. Okay. So, I did have another caller I wanted to call up. But to dovetail on what she was saying about forgiveness, that's really huge, and about, telling if people are lying or not. One of the main people we lied to is ourselves. That was one of the biggest things. The whole unbiased and on the fence thing, sort of when you have a worldview that you're stuck in, uh, to get out of that, you really have to get honest with yourself and say, well, what do I really know? There's some deep down things that I know that I'm sure of, like just because over time I've had it proven to me over and over that there's some kind of benevolent force looking out for me, guiding me, helping me, but I'm not really sure what it is. But I know there's something there for me, and I've seen it over and over again. I'd be insane not to recognize that at this point, especially looking back and seeing my life up until this point and seeing how I was led here with just this idea that popped in my head. That was one of the things I was just reading in the Dolores Cannon book, Keepers of the Garden, how they said people come up with an idea and they'll think it's just sort of their idea. I'm starting to recognize a lot of the ideas that I thought originated with me did not originate with me at all. It was guidance or just an idea, sort of like this whole channel. When I look at this channel and the way I got an idea to start it, and it's like, when I look back on it and I look at the logo and the name of it, and I'm like, man, I just sort of mindlessly came up with this stuff. But now I know there was something deeper going on. So I think we lie to ourselves more than anything, more than anyone. And as far as the forgiveness thing, forgiving ourselves. I know my mom died when I was 19, and I was like a mother's boy, and I uh, I found it real difficult to get over. I had a lot of regrets, like I had just moved out, and I lived in Tulsa, and she lived in Sapulpa, which was like, I don't know, 25-minute ride to her house from my apartment to her house. And she had had a stroke, and I helped her out a whole bunch, but there was certain nights that she called me up. I had to work early in the morning. She called me up at like 9:30, and her boyfriend at the time was a truck driver, so he'd be over the road trucking one night out of the week away from home. And she called me up to come over there and spend the night with her. She was just lonely, and I'd be like, Mom, I'm already in the bed. I don't want to drive 25 minutes all the way over there and then 25 minutes back, and I'm just going to fall asleep. And I had this regret after she passed away. I'm like, why didn't I just go spend time with her? And I was honestly tortured by it, you guys. I mean, it was like I just couldn't believe that I just threw away those opportunities back then. And I really walked around really not forgiving myself for doing that. And then not long after she passed away, within a year of her passing away, I had my first child, and that's when I finally was able to get over it. I thought how torturous it was to think of my child walking around with this guilt trip, for something that I said, like I wanted them to do something and they didn't do it, and now I passed away, and then they're walking around feeling like I was feeling at the time. And that's what pulled me out of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if my mom's up in heaven looking down on me and seeing it wouldn't be heaven for her if she saw the hell I was living in from not forgiving myself for that. And it took me having a child a year later, within a year of her passing away, for me to sort of be able to shift my perspective to the parent looking at the child and imagining my child walking around with guilt about something, and so I was able to let it go. And so that helped out a lot. Let me go back to the phone lines. I didn't mean to go on a rant there, but maybe that'll help somebody that needs to hear it. Who knows? Let it go. Forgive yourself. Okay. I do have a second
Play
caller
this
lined
Verizon
up.
ringback tone while your party is...
Actually? Oh, I guess that was working. Let me mute it in case I get a voicemail. I don't want to give out any sensitive information accidentally. Oh. Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. This is Shane. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Shane?
Pretty good. Are you there with, this is Carrie, right?
This is Carrie, yeah.
Okay, Carrie, and what's your location?
I am in Idaho.
Idaho, okay. Let me type that in here. Carrie in Idaho. All right, awesome. So how are you doing this evening?
I am doing good.
Now, for those who don't know, this is Enlightened Celt, Joel's wife. Let me see here. There we go.
In the chat from Carrie Karma.
Carrie. Oh, you're in the chat as Carrie Karma? Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull that back up. Yay, okay. All right, so I got that pulled back up. So, wow, how's things been really going for you guys in Idaho there?
Pretty good, pretty good. So first off, I just wanted to thank Ronnie for what she just shared.
That's powerful stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it was really powerful, and I love what she said about forgiveness and doing that self-work, because that's so important, and it really is the only way that we can move forward,
Mm-hmm.
And also thank you to you for what you shared, and I like how, you had to change your perspective to realize that no parent wants their child to be walking around with that kind of guilt,
Yeah.
So that's pretty powerful. That's a way to realize, we have to forgive ourselves, and that's the only way we can move forward on this journey.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have guilt like that they walk around, and I can imagine people just carrying it around for decades until they die and never really letting it go, and it just sort of haunting them, and that's a horrible
Right.
thought to, you know.
Well, yeah, and it just eats you up,
Yeah,
Oh.
unforgiveness for others and for ourselves. So I think
Mhm.
unforgiveness is huge for people, because people do you wrong and you feel like they don't deserve to be forgiven, but holding that unforgiveness seems to hurt you more than them. So
Right, and once you can do it, like, you're so much lighter, it's just
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and I've noticed that sometimes it's like you can forgive somebody and then it'll creep back up again and you'll feel like it's there again. It's like I've already forgiven them. Why is this creeping back up
Right, right
again?
step back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing process sometimes.
Right. So, I kind of wanted to share my introduction to the Mandela effect, if that's cool.
Oh, totally. I love Mandela effect stuff.
Yay! I was hoping you weren't tired of talking about it already.
No, it stays pretty new.
Okay, so Joel, my husband, he had been trying to tell me for the longest time, and this started back in either late 2016 or early 2017.
Hmm.
It's hard to pinpoint. You know how time is just so weird now, and like it's just,
Yeah.
oh, it was somewhere around there. But I was super busy, and I'm a teacher, and I was in a master's program, and so I was just like really focused on all my 3D stuff, and so I just could not hear him. Um, but he approached me, showing me like logos and stuff.
Hmm.
And so I remember we were standing in the kitchen, and he showed me this like Ford logo, and he's like, "Does that look right?" And I'm like, "No, it never had that little curly thing, but so what? They change all their logos all the time." And so he's like, "No, but it's like if you look it up, it's like it's always been that way with a little weird curly Q thingy."
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, okay, Joel, like, you have too much time on your hands, dude. Like, you need to, like, find something to do?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, okay, so they probably just changed the internet. Like, somebody got in there and messed with it, and who knows? That's kind of where my mind went. And so I just kind of thought he was just tripping out, and I just let it go. And then he tried again a couple weeks later, and he's like, he showed me some more logo stuff. I'm like, okay, here we go again. And then he's like, okay, hey, what kind of apple cider vinegar do you drink? Do you always buy? And I'm like, of course, it's Bragg's. And he tells me, go get your apple cider vinegar out of the fridge. And so I decided to play along. I'm like, okay, honey, I'll go get it. And so I go get it, and I'm looking at it, and as we know, it says Bragg. So I'm
Yeah.
just standing for probably like a minute, just staring at it, like, when did that change? Like, what the heck is going on? And so then we, of course, like, start looking everything up, and then we start seeing all the stuff, like Star Wars and Forrest Gump and Snow White and just like everything, Berenstain Bears. And so at that point, I was still kind of thinking, like, somebody messed with the internet. There's no way. Like, someone just messed with the internet.
Yeah.
Did you kind of have that
Oh,
similar?
totally. Yeah, totally. I was
Yeah,
ready to drive to the Thinker statue. I'm like, I gotta go see this thing in person, man, because
right, exactly. Like, I have to see it.
yeah.
So that's exactly kind of what I did, because the next thing I saw was from the movie Grease. And I don't know if you're as big a Grease fan as I am, but I'm talking, like, I know, like, every word, would
Yeah.
reenact every song in my living room at slumber parties, that kind of thing. Like, so I see that Grease has changed, and it's the song Grease Lightning.
Yeah, it's greased lightning now. I'm like, what? That's so
Right.
crazy.
Okay, but have you listened to the actual song now? Like, it's totally different. It's crazy.
Oh no, I didn't notice anything else about it. That's so funny that that's like the main song, but I remember like memorizing the other ones, like the reproduction one. I remember singing that in summer school, and just because I was young and it was extra funny, you know. But
Right, right, right. Okay, so what I remember the beginning sounding like, and people in the chat, like, let us know if this is what you remember. I remember John Travolta saying, this car is systematic, it's automatic, it's hydromatic, why, it's grease lightning.
yeah,
Remember that?
oh yeah, that's not what it is.
No, now it says, this car could be systematic, hydromatic, ultramatic. Why, it could be grease lightning.
Oh no way.
Yeah, so not only have the words changed, but his whole tone of voice and just like the whole scene is totally different.
Oh man, that's a trip how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, and then not only that, but the rest of the songs, I remember it being kind of risque a little bit.
Yeah.
But now it's like super inappropriate and like dirty. Like my parents would never have let me watch that as a kid. The way it is now, it has cuss words. I mean, it's bad.
Oh
Like,
really? Yeah, it was risque, but it wasn't. It was borderline stuff, you know, for the time.
Right. I mean, like the words they say in there, I swear, like one of those words, I swear I never even heard until at least high school. You know.
Yeah.
And if I did, it was referring to like a kitty cat. Okay, so
Right.
like it says that now, like that word,
No
and
way.
yeah, you have to watch it. And so okay, so at that point we saw this, and I'm like, okay, somebody totally did this. Like they just, it's not real, it's fake. So I have the VHS of Grease. That's how big of a fan I am, and I know that kind of dates me, but I have the VHS, and we don't have a VCR, so I had to take it to my classroom to watch it. And so I pop it in, I wait till all the kids are gone, of course, and shut the door, and I pop it into my VCR, and I'm just fully expecting it to be the way I remember it. And it wasn't. It is totally dirty, inappropriate, and totally different.
Oh wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I remember. Like I said, I remember part of it being risque, like that reproduction one, but it wasn't that bad. I mean,
Right.
they like, did a play on the word on period and things like that, but that was about the worst, in the,
Mhm.
talking about the classes or whatever, but it was like a play on word and wordplay. But
Yeah.
no, they didn't say anything like the kitty cat word and stuff like that for sure.
Right. Yeah,
Definitely
it's so
not.
sad. I mean, I would have let my kids watch it, the way that I remember it. But now, there's no way my kids are going to watch that. Like, it's horrible.
That's so wild.
So,
And it's weird because
yeah.
you say like the way his inflection actually changed. And have you noticed the way Arnold Schwarzenegger says "I'll be back" now? It's like
Oh, yeah, like,
that's
creepy.
yeah, it's like he lost the whole, the sound that was so famous. He's like, "I'll be back," and I'm like, "What?" He doesn't say it all normal.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
so, yeah, so that's pretty much when it really hit me, like, this is really happening. Like,
Yeah.
my whole reality, everything I believe is totally not true. you know.
Now, what about the
So,
JFK
oh my
footage?
God.
Was that one
Oh
for
my
you?
God. That one is so crazy. I
Oh, I
remember watching
know.
as a kid, and it is totally different. And the weird thing about that one is that my parents, I've talked to my parents about this, and they're pretty open-minded, and they're kind of just like, all right, Carrie, they're willing to listen to me at least.
Hmm.
And with Greece, they're like, yeah, it was not like that. They know that. But with JFK, they are absolutely certain that the way it is right now is how it's always been. And so I don't know. I'm like, how do you remember that? Like, they remember it being this long sedan with the two people in the middle.
Wow. That is so strange. Yeah, I got a viewer that's a really good friend that does that too. That said that too. He sees all of them, but that specific one for some reason. But he said he had a calendar hanging on his wall growing up, and I wondered if that had something to do with it, perhaps. Did I
Yeah,
lose you?
maybe.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Yeah, it's just crazy. I'm like, I don't know, because that one, it is totally not the same footage at all that I saw.
Yeah, and that's just so, I don't know. It's just when you think of like even like time travel, that specific one with JFK and there being 6 people in the car now instead of 4, and that car
Hmm.
was specially made for the event, and before it was just the same car that's at the museum. When you look at all of that, that rules out a lot of possibilities of what could be happening. I mean, you can't imagine a time traveler going back and manipulating a few things and somehow creating that event now like that. So that's like you can really tell how things have really been hacked. You know what I mean? Like from the
Right,
now, not really from back then. It's just strange.
right, for sure, yeah. And I mean, that was when it really hit me was like, okay, how could this change on a VHS from the 70s? Like, like, how is that possible,
Yeah.
But then there's all this residual stuff, too. Like, I also have the CD of Grease. Like I said, I'm a huge Grease fan.
Yeah.
And on the CD, the beginning part is the same. It's the normal way that I remember. But then the rest of the song is still like the dirty, inappropriate part. So it's like part of it changed, but part of it stayed the same. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Have you noticed having dual memories of stuff? Like you hear the new
Oh,
way, but it's kind of familiar.
well, yeah, that happened to me just about Mandela himself.
Yeah.
Because I remember in 2013 watching his funeral. And at the time I was thinking like, dude, I'm stupid. Like, I remember he died, I must be like, my memory's horrible,
Right.
I'm just like, wow, okay, well, whatever. And then when I started realizing what was going on and I realized why it was called the Mandela effect, I had this crazy moment where it just flooded over me and I remembered taking a world civ class back in undergrad, like in the early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
and we did this whole unit on South Africa and apartheid and all of that stuff, and we talked about Nelson Mandela dying in prison, and I wrote it down, because I
Yeah.
write down. I'm a total nerd. I write everything everyone says in class. I write it down, and so I actually went and dug in the basement and found my old notebook from my undergrad days, and I found the notebook, and I probably spent like 45 minutes reading through that entire notebook, and there was not one word in there about South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, like it skipped from like Ireland to like Australia or something. Like there was nothing in there,
The
and we
book
spent at least
changed.
yeah, like my notebook. I'm like, okay, now it's messing with my stuff, like my personal stuff, that I wrote down, and I remember writing it down, and it's just totally not there at all.
That is such a trip. And that's how it was for me opening up that file I created where I put this map in there and then I took the word
Oh, yeah.
love in like 2 different languages and I laid it over all of the landmass to create like a world map out of the word love in all these languages. And when I opened up that file, my words no longer lined up with the map. And I'm like, what the heck?
Oh my gosh,
So
yeah.
it was a trip because I knew it wasn't 100% it was not the way I left it, and I was so lucky that I had it like saved on this old hard drive. I'm like, do I
Oh
still
yeah.
have that original file? And it's crazy. Now I've got this piece of artwork up that doesn't match the current world map. And it's like no wonder I never sold any copies of it because it doesn't even it's like who made this thing, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, the map is changing, so it makes sense that it wouldn't line up anymore, I guess.
Yeah, that's a trip. It's crazy when you see your own file change like that. But that's really
Yeah.
the only thing that I actually have in my possession that for me, I know other people would just say, "Oh, you just faked it," or "You spent all the time." Like, but for me personally, it's like hard
Hmm.
evidence that something's happening because I know how
Oh,
I left it.
yeah. Exactly. That's like me with my notebook. I
Yeah,
mean, nobody else is really going to understand that. except Joel, because
Yeah.
he's cool, and I can talk to him about all this stuff, and he totally, he knows that it's real.
Yeah, you
So
guys are lucky to have each other.
we are. Oh my gosh, yeah, he's amazing.
That's the one
He's just
reason
like,
why I asked about the JFK thing because I knew me and my wife had watched like documentaries about it and things like that, and I knew it would get her because we discussed it, and I've always been that kind of conspiracy person. So it's like, do you think it was the driver? Do you think it was And we went through all of that, and she had to listen to me ramble on about it, 20 years ago or whatever, and then so now it's like I'm like, okay, how many people in the car? And then she told me, and I'm like, now look, and then her eyes got so big as she looked at that footage. But even then, like, she pulled back, that was right at first, and I could tell she saw it because of the way her face looked. But then she started doubting her memories, but now she gets it now, but it took her a while some people just aren't ready. Their brain talks them out of it because it's just too mind-blowing to see impossible things happening.
Oh yeah, and that reminds me, like, that when I watched the Grease video in my classroom, I actually had one of my coworkers come in after I was done watching it, and I shouldn't have done it, but I was so, like, excited and just like, oh my God, like, I had to tell her. So I told her, and so she kind of just, like, looked at me like I was crazy, She started texting me that night, and she's like, oh my God, like, so much has changed, and she found all this stuff that had changed, and she was freaking out, and then she texted me and said, you shouldn't have told me this. I wish you hadn't told me this, and don't ever talk to me about this again.
Oh my God.
So I was just like, dang, like I shouldn't have. So now I'm just really careful, I know who I can talk to and when not to talk because like, some people, like you said, they're just not ready. They just can't hear it.
But you'll be there for her when she is ready, finally. I mean, she's seeing it. That's saying something. I was working at the flea market when I first discovered it, and I didn't realize everyone wouldn't see it. So me and my big mouth, all of my regular customers that would walk through and never buy anything but chat with me for 20 minutes, I was like, oh, somebody to chat to about the Mandela effect. And nobody was, or, a lot of them would get it or start fiddling on their phone after I told them something, and they would see it, and then they go on talking about something else. And I'm like, dude, I just told you this impossible stuff's happening to our reality, and you're going back to talking about your truck driving or whatever it was, It's
right? Like, how can you not pay attention to this? Like, your whole reality. Oh my God. Oh, yeah.
Even the guy at the booth next to me, he sold a lot of Star Wars memorabilia and stuff, and I'm like, what color is C-3PO? And he's like, gold. And I'm like, is he all gold or does he? And I even got specific. I'm like, does he have any parts of him that are silver? And he's like, no, he's just all gold. And I said, look it up on your phone. He's like, what? And he's like looking through. I'm like, yeah, it's always had the silver lake. And he's like, no, it didn't. And he's like, but then he went on chatting about something else. It's like, what? How can you see it happen and then, go on to what are we having for lunch or something else?
Right? Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, or just the people that just blame it on false memories. I mean, did you see that whole Fox News thing they did about just like, come on, guys, believe in yourselves. You do remember, especially when something has, like, it holds meaning for you. You're gonna remember it. You're not just gonna make up some memory for no reason. I mean, like, for me, it's mostly the song lyrics, like those. I'm really into song lyrics, and so when those change, I know it.
Oh yeah.
And it's especially when there's a song lyric that has a special meaning for you. Like, you're definitely going to remember when it's different. Like you posted that Red Hot Chili Peppers song.
Yeah.
Under the Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And that really messed with me because I grew up in Southern California, just outside of LA. I remember watching that on MTV and singing along, and it was City of Angels,
Yeah.
Los Angeles, City of Angels. It's not the City of Angels.
Right. It would be La Angela or something if it was the angel.
Not in Mandela or
Right.
Mandela.
Yeah.
Come on, no.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
and there's another one that some people I talk to remember it the way I do, and then others just aren't sure, or they're like, no, it's always been that way. And it's the song Africa by Toto, and it's playing a lot on the radio now because Weezer just redid it. And,
I just heard that the other day. What's
yeah,
changed about it?
well, to me, I don't know about for everybody, but at the beginning part when he's talking about, like, she's coming in, 12:30 flight, and he's clearly on his way to meet her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's talking to the old man, and then it says, like, he turned to me as if to say, hurry, boy, she's waiting there for you. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be, she's waiting there for you. Now it says, it's waiting there for you.
Oh, wow. That's so funny that you said that because I noticed it the other day and it caught my eye. I couldn't tell you what changed about it, but I don't know. For some reason, it caught my eye, or caught my ear, I should say.
Right.
I was in the car, and
Mm-hmm.
and that happens a lot. And I think sometimes that's why I think this is a positive thing, and it's like a wake up call for certain people, because I turned
Mm-hmm.
on Google today, and on the homepage, at least here in America, they have it's like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on Google, and you click it, and it's got like this claymation type animation where he's singing "It's a Beautiful Day in This Neighborhood," and I'm like, I
Jeez.
just feel like they're trying to overwrite people's memory on purpose,
Oh,
with
yeah.
things like this. And cable commercials will often feature a bunch of clips that have changed with a new way. And I'm like, they're just
Right.
purposely trying to program you to that the new way is familiar to you. So if somebody
Yeah.
brings it up, it's like, no, that way's familiar.
Right. It's just planting that seed that, oh, there's these crazy people out there that are saying that things are different. And,
Yeah,
come on, this is the way it's always been, guys. Like.
exactly.
Oh,
But the
my
funny
goodness.
thing is, I looked up those lyrics. I put "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood" lyrics, and it came up on this lyric guru site, and it said it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Well,
Yeah.
THE, not this. And
That's
I'm like,
what it is.
there's,
Yeah.
yeah, and there's proof right there. The lyrics haven't changed on that website, yet the song has supposedly always been this neighborhood. So,
Right. And, like, the 12 Days of Christmas song.
hmm
Have you seen that one? It's, on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me, right?
hmm
Now it's my true love sent to me.
Oh yeah, yeah,
At
that is
Amazon.
so wild.
Come on.
Yeah,
No. It doesn't make any sense. It's
I
so
know.
weird.
And it's like it used to be there was no sending stuff because everybody did everything in person. But now that we send emails, we send texts, we send gifts, we get our Amazon through the mail or whatever. Everything's like through the mail. So it changed to reflect that or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another one was deck the hall. It's
Oh,
deck the
God.
hall instead of deck the halls. Yeah, it's deck the hall. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just,
Sure, I have the sheet music for that one. It's definitely Deck the Hall.
yeah, there's a
Oh,
there's a bunch of them now. There's thousands of them, literally, tens of
yeah.
thousands.
Yeah,
So
and okay, so I actually had another personal Mandela effect within the last couple days that really tripped me out, if you want to hear about it.
yeah, definitely.
So no one else will know this most likely unless you're a third grade teacher teaching multiplication to your class.
Yeah.
But so I've taught for 4 years, and this is my 5th year teaching. And every year I play this skip counting video for my kids. And it's a video that's on the teaching channel, and it's by this gal named Jen Saul, and she's out of Palo Alto, California. And it's really cute because for like the 5, they do like the Macarena, while singing like the skip counting
Mhm.
for the 5. And then for the 6s, she has them hold up a finger for each number that they're saying. So it's like 6, 12, 18, and they're holding up, that number of fingers each
Mhm.
time. And then there's like a whole little dance for 7s, whatever. Well, so I go to play this video because that's how I kind of like start off the songs with my kids, is showing them the moves, like what they're supposed to do for each number.
Mhm.
and I've watched it 4 times every year. I've done this for the last 4 years. So we watch the 5s, and then they go into the 6s, and like all the kids just stood there, like nobody put their fingers up, and it was so weird because then I had to, after the video, I had to teach them. Okay, so when we do 6s, we put our finger up for each number that we're counting. It's like, what? It's totally just not there anymore. Like it was never there.
That is so wild. And man,
Yeah.
and just to know something so well and have it change. And you know what? I've even had people, like when I put out that Golden Child video of, he used to say, "Tell me about the kid," when he talked to the serpent lady, and now he says, "Tell me about the Golden Child." And I was like,
Oh, right.
man,
Yeah. I
and I
remember
was like,
that.
yeah. And so somebody left the comment. They're like, "I have this VHS tape. I know it says that on that. They must have a different version for the movie or the DVD or something." And they
Hmm.
never came back. I left them a comment. I'm like, please go check your VHS tape. I know they might not
Yeah.
have a VCR, but go check it because that's how I knew it had changed. That's how sure I was of it. But so many people, especially when it comes to the Bible, because people have like memorized the scripture, they're like, I'm not going to go read it again. I know what it says. I memorized that. But if they would
Right.
just take a moment to go look, they would have their mind blown. But a
Oh,
lot of people won't even go look. It's crazy.
yeah. Well, actually, Joel's parents are super, super religious, super Christian, and they were over here one day, and Joel was like telling them about stuff in the Bible that has changed,
Yeah.
and he actually, busted out his Bible and he showed them how the lion and the lamb now says the wolf,
Yeah.
and it was so weird, Shane. They just blew it off. They were just like, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's like it's just God's plan or whatever." And we're like, "What? What do you mean? Like, how come you're not reacting to this?" I would think that actually people that are, it's like so much a part of them that it would affect them even more. But their reaction was just like, "Oh, nothing." It's so weird. But,
Yeah, that's crazy. Like my sister and her husband are both ministers, and they were on a trip, and when I first contacted them, but I'm sending her all these texts. I'm like, well, maybe she just needs time to deal with it and stuff. And I'm giving them time and giving them a couple of days. And I'm like, hey, did you ever have a chance to look at that? Yeah, we noticed it. We're looking into it, and I'm like, they're looking into it. And then I hit her back. She's like, hey, I'm busy with the pastor's wife right now, and hit her back again.
uh,
Hey, we're busy on the road trip right now. Chad's sister's sick, and
right. All
going on. Just
perpetually busy, right?
yeah, just whenever. I'm like, man, I'm telling you that I need you to talk to me because me and my sister were so close. She was like, the, we were like right
Yeah.
around the same age and stuff. And you would think when something like this breaks out that, those people like that in your life, you can count on them. And nope, she was just like it didn't even affect her. It's just crazy.
Wow, I mean, yeah, she just must have not been ready for that.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So I just gave them time and I'm still waiting.
That that's so hard when it's somebody that you are so close to, and then you're just like, where are you? Why
Yeah,
can't you?
yeah,
I
it's
think,
just real odd.
yeah, I think I've been really fortunate in that way, in that, I can talk to my parents, and of course I have Joel, like, and we're always talking about just crazy, weird stuff. Like, our poor kids have to hear it all the time. But yeah, and my best friend, I have a lot of friends and family that know what's going on, and they'll listen to me, and then they start like, oh, this is changed, this is different. So it's like, I feel so fortunate to have that support system, because if I didn't, I'd probably just think I
Yeah,
was totally, like, oh
totally.
man.
Yeah, I can't remember which one. What was it? I think it was Funyuns. My son noticed that it's like looks like Funyuns now with a Y in it, and it used to be spelled like onion with FU in the beginning
Right.
of it. So,
Yeah.
so he goes to school and somebody had a bag of it, and I'm like, he's like, look at how that's spelled or whatever. And the teacher says, you know what that's called? And he said, yeah, the Mandela effect. And she nodded her head, so she knows. But the
Oh,
teachers have to be cool about it. I know, I mean, you can't
right.
You know,
I
and
can't like go into my classroom and be like, "Hey guys,"
right. I mean, you'd be out on the street in no time, you know.
Which is funny because they're the ones that would totally accept it right away and just be like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on." Like,
Yeah.
it'd be so. But I can't do that, obviously.
Right, yeah, totally. Yeah, you got to be careful. But I thought that kind of gave me reassurance that there's a lot of sleeper Mandela effect people out there. They see it happening, but they're playing along. Because I even thought that after I quit working at the flea market, I'm like, I'm just going to have to start playing along with everybody because nobody else seems to see it happening or they're just weird about it. You know, that was almost as weird as the effect itself, as people's response. You know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, just some people either just don't, they say like nothing's changed, kind of you're crazy kind of vibe, or they realize that it's changed and they're just like, dude, don't talk to me about that. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, and I was that person for a year too. I was I was doing Uber for a while, and I had somebody get in the car and they were really excited about it, and they asked me if I'd heard about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, with the Fruit Loops, and like yeah, and they were so excited or whatever, but I was the person like acting like it was no big deal because I'm an Uber driver. I don't want to seem too crazy while I'm driving people around, So
Hey, we're gonna write my review.
right. But and they were the only one. There was like 3 people in the car, and they were the only ones that were excited about it. But of course, they're like, "See," to the people that's with them. So I had to sort of try to, ride the fence with it, I guess. Not to
Right,
seem
yeah.
crazy.
Totally.
So that's so fun. Oh, I really appreciate. I want to do a shout out to Joel for the children's book because his artwork is
yeah.
so awesome. He sent that to me. Feel free to drop your link in there too. Enlightened Celt.
Oh, yeah, do it, Joel.
Yeah, drop a link in there so people can check out that book, man, because great artwork. And I did illustrate one book. I never thought I would illustrate a book and not remember the name of it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, what was it again?
Right? Well,
yeah,
when you remember, let us know so we can check it out.
yeah, it was from an author in Australia, and it was named after his kids.
Oh, cool.
So I can't remember their name, Janie and Blake or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, it's wonderful to do art, and that's funny that I got into art to illustrate books, and I've only got to do one that was typically doing more boring stuff like diagrams and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like no matter what you do, it's like there's the fun part of it, and then there's the job part of it. That's not about creating anything. It's just about giving people what they order.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Joel is finally getting to live his passion. I mean, he I don't know if he mentioned this when he was on your show, but he worked at a prison for 8 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and during that time he didn't draw at all. It was just like, I think the job just it was just draining, emotionally, mentally, just everything,
Yeah.
So it kind of just got to the point where I was like, babe, I want you back. I want the person I married, where did you go? So for a long time I was telling him, you got to get out of there. You just have to get out of there. It is not good for you. It's not healthy for you, and so finally he was just like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm out. And he just made that decision, and since then he's been getting to do all these illustrations and just really, living his passion, which is what we should all be doing, right?
Oh, totally. And I'm so glad. I hope my daughter's listening to this because she was considering going in and working in the prison system. Right now, she's like undercover loss prevention at a store. So she goes around like she's a shopper and busts people for shoplifting. So she's like an undercover security person right now, and you'd never suspect her. That's why she does a good job because she totally looks like a shopper, but
That'd be kind of fun, actually. That'd be a fun job.
There it is. Thanks for posting that link in. So you guys check that link out for the children's book. What is it called again?
Allie the Ant.
Allie the Ant. That's right.
Yeah, and he's working on a really cool one right now. It's called Clouds, and it's about this little girl that her dad died in the army, and she sees his face like in the clouds, and it's just a really, it's a really emotional. You know, it's for kids, but it's like it's really heart wrenching. You know, it's a really beautiful story.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I imagine
Yeah.
that's tough because there's probably a lot of kids that lose their parents like
Yeah.
that, and to have something like that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of like another weird thing about how this all came about with the children's books and Joel illustrating and all that. I don't know if he wants me to tell this part or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. So the author, Stacy Beitcher,
Mm-hmm.
actually my ex-husband's ex-wife, and
Oh,
we're like
really?
best.
Oh, that's wild. That's cool though.
Yeah, so I mean, it just goes to show you can make connections anywhere, you know. And we're soul sisters for sure, and her and Joel are soul brother and sister, and so yeah, it's just a really cool thing
But
that we're
that's
all doing
cool.
this.
When you imagine like like behind the curtain or whatever, where like before we come into this life, it's like we're all picking our roles we're going to play and how we're going to trigger each other and
Oh
our
yeah. Hmm.
relationship to one another. And we've probably done this 1,000 times already. And it's like, now you be the dad, and let's see, I'm going to be the wife, and or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I
Yep.
think it's going to be hilarious when we see behind the scenes of how we played roles and forgot the fact that we were playing them and it was all a game. That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And like the Celestine prophecy, I know you've talked about that several times, and
Oh yeah,
it just feels so true to me that we really do choose. We choose our parents. We choose where we want to be because we've got something to accomplish there, something to learn or something to contribute. You know,
yeah,
it just makes sense to me.
totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I do want to mention I'm going to have. There was this book I read that I recommended called The Forgotten Promise by oh Sherry. What is her name? Cannot believe I'm drawing a blank on that. I want to say Sherry Wolf because Michelle Wolf, but it's
Okay,
but she's going to be on Wednesday. Wild is what it is. It threw me because it's Wild with an E and Wolf has an E on the end for Michelle's last name.
right.
So I'm like, why am I thinking Wolf? Okay, so yeah, Sherry Wild. She's actually going to be on Wednesday. So excited about having her on because she's actually spoken at MUFON and she's a contactee and all this. So really excited
Oh,
about having her on. I just found that out today. So
that's really cool. Nice.
yeah. And Suso, he was actually in the chat a little bit ago. He's going to have a guest on Sunday. He wanted me to let you guys know to come over to his channel Sunday at noon Mountain Time for a special program. He's a guest he's going to have on about the Mandela Effect. So if you've been enjoying this Mandela Effect conversation, make sure you go over and join up with Suso.
Oh
And
yeah, I'll definitely be there.
yeah, I love the conversation. It never gets old, and more things keep popping up, and it's like, what? So
Right?
it's,
You know, now it's just fun, you know, like now that we're over the initial, like, oh my God, like,
yeah,
you know, what's happening? Now it's just like, oh, hey, check this one out. Like, this is different now.
yeah.
It's just, it's fun.
So do you feel like it's a wake up call, or what's your
Oh
feelings
yeah,
about it?
yeah, absolutely. I think that it is definitely, I don't know who or how or any of that stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like definitely to wake us up, you know, and it worked. It worked
Oh,
for me
totally.
and it's working for so many of us. Like, okay, now we get it. You
Yeah.
know, so I don't see it as a negative thing at all. I think it's definitely been so beneficial to so many of us, you know, and it's really kind of freeing in a way too, because it's like, you know, if the reality that I know can completely change around me, think about how powerful we are. Think about
Yeah.
how we change our own reality. You know, we're so powerful, and so yeah, I think it's just kind of awesome. You know.
Yeah. It's almost like we woke up in a sci-fi show or a movie or something is how I always feel. Once you get past that initial shock of it. I never really freaked out in a negative way about it. I was always
Mm.
like WTF about it. Once I realized it, I'm like, what? Just couldn't believe it. But yeah.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good thing. So
Yeah,
it's
I agree. Definitely.
well, I
Right.
do
Well,
appreciate you calling in, and it's been a wonderful
yeah,
chat with you. And need to get your hubby on again to chat, maybe next week or something.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah, thank you for having me. And you wouldn't believe I'm a total introvert. Like I've been wanting to call in for a while. But I'm just so nervous. I'm like, oh, it's painful to talk in front of people.
But
you
it's pretty
know.
easy, don't you say? Just to encourage
Yeah,
others. I mean, it's
it was
nervous
really
thinking about
fun.
it, but
Yeah. It was really fun and thanks for having me on and shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys are amazing and just really love everybody's unique perspectives and unique personalities and so yeah.
all right. Lots of
I'll
love and
take
light
it.
to you. Have a good one.
All right, you too, same. Thanks.
No problem. Bye bye.
Bye.
Let's see if I can find the hang up button here. Ah, there it went. Okay. Carrie from Idaho. Joel's wife. So glad he posted that link in there. Make sure you check out the link he posted to check out that book, Allie the Ant. Can't wait to see your upcoming edition as well. Where am I at here? I did see someone else in the chat wanting to chime in, so phone lines are open if you like to call in. Still have a little bit of time left. Is Suso still in here? Suso, if you are in here, man, post your link in here, or you guys can scroll up to his name if you're not subscribed to him already. You can actually scroll up to, or maybe one of the mods can paste in his link because I'm scrolling up. It looks like he's been gone for a while. He's at work right now, so maybe somebody can post his channel link in there, and then if you're not subscribed, you can go check that out. That way, Sunday at noon Mountain Time, you can check out that video, that live stream about the Mandela effect. Thank you, Banjojo. You're so sweet. Biker babe, are you leaving? Lots of love and light to you. Let me find the. This is Shane. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing? Let me turn off.
Hey, Les, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. I did a long trip, and I wanted to go over some of the trip experience that I did. And I went to like 2 caves on a trip. I went like 3,600-mile walkabout in the United States. So
Oh, wow. Where all did you go?
I went to the Soto Caverns, which is like about five stories down, and it's one of the first caverns they ever discovered in the United States. So it used to house the dynamite and they used to make the dynamite because it had water and it had the minerals. So
Oh,
they would make the dynamites in the mine, and it was an old Indian burial outside, and it was sacred healing cave. So that was a plus for me.
yeah.
Going in that healing cave. I drank some of the water in the cave, and they had in the cave. There's a phenomenon called when the cave drops water from the roof. They call it cave kisses. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Uh-uh.
Well, it says you get a blessing when you get a cave kiss. So
Nice.
they call it cave, and there was a spot there. I must have gotten drenched. But it was fun. Yeah,
Remind me again where
man.
you're at. Are you in Louisiana or Georgia, Alabama?
No,
What?
I'm in Cutler Bay, Florida,
Oh,
right
okay.
off of down real South Florida. Yeah, I'm in Florida with Ronnie. Yeah, but Ronnie's I think a little more up north.
Yeah,
And there's a couple of people here in Florida.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Ronnie. Yeah, Ronnie. This is Laz from ascending to beings. You didn't put my thing up there, but anyway.
There it is.
But
LAZ, right?
yeah, I'm sorry.
LAZ.
LAZ, yeah,
Okay.
LAZARO, yeah, Lazaro. So when I went through, I was going to visit the Indian mounds, which are the Nephilim mounds in Georgia. You know, they have one there. If you didn't know that, the Nephilim mounds.
Oh no, I didn't know that. You said Nephilim, like the
Yeah.
giants?
Yeah, that's where they have them. You can go visit and you can get you can feel almost the energy that supposedly they're supposed to resurrect in this end time.
Yeah.
There's some prophecy where they're gonna come, but
yeah, I noticed they found some in stasis. I saw some
yeah,
videos.
yeah,
a while back.
no, they're in stasis. They're in stasis now.
Yeah.
And I believe, because I sense the presence, because you can almost sense it. There's like one that's awake, and it's like the one that's going to waken up the other ones for some reason. That's how it works. But the idea behind the Nephilims is, because it's all Jewish. I'm giving you some Jewish lore.
Yeah.
And Anunnaki lore, I guess. But the whole battle and the depletion of the Indians of the United States was because of the Nephilims. They killed them all off because they were cannibals and they were killing and eating the Indians, and they would hunt down the children, and they didn't like that. So all the tribes got together and just went on a mad, and they buried them all in the mountains. So guess what the United States is doing to prevent, guess what scrambles their brains is the 5G of the phones.
Yeah.
That's what the theory behind. So all these towers. So if you have a 5G tower by your home, most likely you got a Nephilim mound by you. So they're putting a tower. They got it all over that's why I'm probably gonna go into some information. But I'll go ahead. I don't care about it. But the certain cell phone companies are almost like contracted to put the towers of 5G around all these mounds. So that's the whole idea, because it scrambles their brain there if they do resurrect. So can you believe that, bro? Anyway, I drifted off a little bit. Let me go into the trip. So I didn't go there because I'm not going to go to that mound, but I went on the way to Alabama, and let me tell you, yeah, that's okay, Dave. I went to Alabama, and that was oh my goodness. If I can live in Alabama, oof. I went all the way across, and then I stayed there, and then I was going to go to a couple of places, but I was so tired in the cave, because the cave's like a 60-degree slope going down. So you got to have like these hiking sticks. So I brought these sticks. I knew that beforehand, but then when I got out of there, we were so sore. I wanted to go to a waterfall that was nearby. It's beautiful, but I couldn't do it because Alabama has a lot of beautiful places. So I went up north and went to Blanchard Springs. I have a video on my channel of the Soto Cave if you want to watch it, so it's pretty neat.
Oh, nice.
You can click on it. It's pretty nice. I put some nice music with it, and it has like a laser show that they do in it. But when I went to Blanchard, that one's really neat. It's about almost a half a mile cave. It's got about 4 cabins, and it's 20 stories deep. So when I went in there, you go down, it's modern. You go down in an elevator. So it's like, dude, I felt like I was going in one of those, government facilities underground.
Yeah.
If you want to go and feel what it is to be in an underground facility,
That's
go
the
to
place,
the Blanchard, it's called Ozark Forest. It's beautiful. But the Ozark Forest has I'll tell you a couple of more anomalies. But when I'll tell you about the cave, when I went in there, Bat Guano City. I don't know where the bats come in from. How do the bats get into a 20 stories deep cavern? I don't know. But apparently there's some kind of holes going out.
Oh, there's no telling, man.
It's a cool 58 degrees underneath there. The bats and the bat guano everywhere, and then you get a lot of cave kisses all the time, and you can see there's a lot of formations. I haven't done that video, but that one's going to be off the chain. I got the whole half mile almost, and then you go through the cave, and there's like a whole city underneath there. You got a lake, this and that. I was like, whoa. And let me tell you, when I got out of there, definitely a spiritual experience. You know, if anybody ever went into a cave, I would suggest you guys experiment with that. And where do you live? Oh, you're in Massachusetts?
Tulsa. I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, that's up high, right? Yeah.
Actually, right above Texas.
Okay.
Just to the left of Arkansas.
Oh, so yeah, that's in Arkansas. So that's where I went with Blanchard Springs. So you can go right across.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But you're going to Sedona, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna go to Sedona, but that's like it would have been another 2 weeks, and I said, "Oh my God, I can't do it because I take care of my dad." So I went and visited two friends of mine, Warrior Princess and Charles Big Bird. I know you know Charles Big Bird.
Oh yeah.
So we did some nice toking, and then with Warrior Princess, I visited her family. It was awesome. She's an awesome person. So I couldn't visit anybody else's. There was nobody in that little area. And let me tell you what, if I wouldn't have meditated, I would have got hit by that storm. I changed my route. You know that storm that was going by there?
In Arkansas?
Yeah, in Louisiana, remember?
No.
That storm that was hitting Louisiana about a week or so ago?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think Kira mentioned it. Or Carrie.
It disappeared, yeah. But I meditated the day I was planning my trip because I have a Garmin and I have what they call base camp, and you can plan your whole trip and know the mileage and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I still wind up using Google to figure out the miles. Don't ask. If you're going to plan a trip out, use Google to figure out the miles. That's the best way. And then when I did that, I meditated, and let me tell you, I switched the days. And because I did that, I was up north when the storm was on the bottom. Then when I came on the bottom, the storm disappeared. It was awesome.
Wow.
I was like, wow, God intervened there. So you can imagine I was in a car, but let me tell you what happened to me on the experience. You guys are going to love this. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time.
Oh, no.
But it's, I was at Blanchard Springs, which is Arkansas. I was going up a hill, and the hill was pushing me down. I had to step on the gas. It was like some kind of magnetic hold. All kinds of weird phenomena around the caverns.
Mm.
There was like, we have that in Florida. It's called Spook Hill, where you put your car in neutral, and you'll go up when you're going downhill, and then you'll go down when you're going uphill.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, they call it Spook Hill. You can visit that in Florida. But there was a mountain there just like it. So I'm sitting there accelerating and going, man, why can't I go up this mountain? Because it's like mountains there. Oh,
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Oh, Arkansas? I don't know if you've ever been there. But you probably have mountains there in Massachusetts too, right? Yeah. You're right next to the Rockies.
Well, it's here in Tulsa. It's in Oklahoma. There's lots of hills, but it's pretty flat. But up towards when I drive to St. Louis, up towards Missouri. The northern part of Oklahoma has a lot of hills in it, but it's fairly flat. It's nothing too big.
I had an uncle who lived in Tulsa, yeah. But so this is like up a hill mountain, go 100 feet, go down a hill, go up and down, up and down. I mean, it was like that for hours.
Sounds like life.
You almost, you gotta like, at one time I was saying, should I put this thing on mountain or second gear? He didn't know what to do with the car. I was really having fun with the car. I drove like a Hyundai, the newest one with all the luxuries.
Yeah.
I went full throttle. So it was a top car. I don't ever go with a crappy car, please.
Or
You're
a
gonna
truck.
go to Sedona? Make sure you go with a car that's responsive, with the mountains, with everything. Because where you're going in Sedona, that's Mountain City. I have friends that practically live there, and they know all the spiritual retreats there and everything. So where you're going, it's awesome. I hope you do a lot of videos there, or lives or something. Or
Oh, yeah.
record it, man. You got a camera, right?
Oh,
You all
yeah.
set
I'll
up?
have my equipment and everything, so that'll be awesome.
So let me tell you, when I went into that cave, the Blanchard Cave, I went down the elevator. You go into this entrance where it's like, oh my God, it's like 1,000 feet across and 1,000 feet, this cavern that looks like you can fit a whole city in there.
Mm.
And that's like 20 stories down. I'm going, oh my goodness. They must have gotten the idea for the bases with these caves. So I wouldn't doubt if someone from one of those facilities went and did that elevator for them.
Yeah. Probably.
They're already of the whole thing. So when you go down there, you feel cool. It's awesome because you get to see all the phenomenon of the caves, and it's like a cave that is already what they call past its reactive stage, so it's not gonna have any kind of phenomena. But I'll tell you what I found. This is the interesting part of the trip. During the trip, I saw a bunch of what I call beings. I mean, there were, you can call them whatever you want, NPCs or whatever you want to call them, hitchhikers on the side of the road at 2 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
in a leather jacket. They weren't humans. And then I'm driving down, and I would see I would look outside my car, and you're gonna have this phenomenon because I know you're a very loving person, and God always takes care of you and His angels. So I saw outside of my car like angels driving with me. I'm going, wait a minute, and then I looked again, and they were gone. So I'm going. I felt so reassured. So.
Yeah.
Trust me, my friend, you're going to have with you an armada of beings that are going to take care of you. And if not, I'll pray for you too. But so when I was because I drove at night, and it was the best time to drive at night, and I would see so many phenomenons at night.
Mm-hmm.
It was like incredible. I would park because I would stop on the side of the road because I was too sleepy, and I don't like driving, so I would rest like half an hour. And I would see all these, what you would call orbs all over the place. I'm going, oh my God. And I look and I said, I'm in the middle of a dense forest. It's expressway going through there. And you look at the skies and it looked like you can't fit one more little dot in there. It's like all dots. I mean, you know how you lie down and do you have parts of where you live was like that? It was so full of stars. I was like, wow. So it was, this is all the experiences I went through. And then I got out of there, I visited. But the most weirdest experience, and I'll finish with this one. When I went to Texas,
Mm-hmm.
I met my friend Big Bird, and we spent some beautiful time. He's such a beautiful soul. I never regret that in my whole life ever going there. And so is Lois, Warrior Princess.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful soul. and I visited her in Louisiana. When I visited Charles, I went to a hotel. As I left and I was going back here to Miami, to Florida, I stopped in Houston as a pit stop overnight, and I couldn't sleep all night. When I went to sleep, because I have these weird dreams, I was like visited by hundreds of beings, people talking to me. I'm going, oh, wow, I didn't know there were people like you here. You know where? I felt like Whoopi Goldberg in the movie Ghost, when all the beings realized that you were clairvoyant.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And my wife had the same experience. So we were like, we woke up in the morning, God, we're bushed. You want to stay here another day? We couldn't sleep. And so, let me tell you, we have work to do, my friend, and always be aware that there's so many things that you know what I figured out? I says, look, we can't get stuck on just addressing humans. There are other beings out there that are non-humans that also we can, as I say, educate, however you want to look at it. But I don't think that we're just going to work with humans when we go into a 4D planet that we're going into. I don't know. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that we're only going to have humans? or you think we're going to have a variety?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a big variety of beings out there too. And, you know, especially when you think about the different dimensions and stuff too. So if you're starting to tap into those higher dimensions, I can totally see like, oh, hey, this guy can hear us, man. Started trying to talk to you.
Yeah. Woo, wait. Oh my God, I spent 8 hours, and I was like, when I woke up, it's like but you know, I got up and bam, I went. But, so my friend, when you're going to go over there to Sedona, get ready.
Oh, yeah, I'll be
you're
ready.
Right now going to be aware. I don't know if you've ever did that journey, but that's one hell of a journey. I know a lot of people have gone that journey. I know people that almost live there.
Yeah.
And I got orbs from Sedona, from friends of mine, and I know a lot of like Indians that my friend visited there. So that place is packed with all kinds of non-humans. So get ready. Make sure you got your EVP and your what I call infrared camera and all that. That's what I took on my trip.
Oh, I wish I had one of those. Those things are expensive.
No, you can buy a UV for like 150, and then you can buy for like $30 on Amazon what I call the EMF with Audible. Because I have a video called the Bermuda Triangle when I went there. And what it does is the non-humans interact with the electronics, so they start giving beeps, and there's no EMFs. So when the orbs that are plasma beings come around it, they also make that thing beep because it's the energy. So that's like a $30. That doesn't cost nothing. You can get a couple of things that are cheap with you. The EVP, I think it's like. That's a little more expensive. You're going to have to spend like a $90 for a nice EVP.
Yeah.
And which is like electronic voice recorder, you know. I'm sorry, EVR. Electronic voice recorder.
Man, I'd love to have that. I got to roll with what I got at this point. I might have to spend one night in my car, you know what I mean, just to get there.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. You haven't figured out all the stuff you got.
Yeah, but I'll have my cameras and stuff, so I'll be hooked up, and hopefully the desert's as cool as at night as they say it is, or they say it's cold at night. So.
Oh, that's awesome! I think you're gonna do really good. Yeah, there's the guy over Texas said, yeah, ghost radar. That's what they call that device, but it's you can also measure microwaves and electronics and see if you got how much EMFs you're getting off, But it basically, the theory behind it, so everybody knows, if you get that EMF device with Audible, It is recognized that the ETs can interact and change the electronics, and it can start going, which it done for me already.
Yeah.
Beep, 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 and give codes. And you can actually say, are you interacting with me? And then it'll go beep. And so it's like, well, okay. Is that a yes? Beep. You know, so you sit there, okay. So when I was in the Keys, I did it because I was hunting down to get this branch to do a wand, and it was pitch black. When I turned it on, it was like beep, 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 beep. And then I said, well, you know, the beings are making this device go off. All of a sudden it went beep and turned off. No more beeps. So I'm going, okay. So I said, well, I guess they're now sending a code. So they would go beep, 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 and then they would go beep. So there were, I'm telling you, get yourself one of those things. That's going to be probably the most funnest thing you have on the whole trip. If you go to, because I don't know what you're going into, a conference or
Yeah, it's
are
a
you actually going to
conference.
go on? Are you going to do a trip around where they got these trail runs where they take you to other vortex? Take
Oh,
about
really?
$100. It's cost $100, and you don't even have a Jeep. They throw you on a Jeep, and then they stop you for sometimes 5 minutes at each vortex, take pictures and all that. You feel the energy, and it's during the day and stuff. So, and
I'll
then
probably just, quietly follow one of those Jeeps and go for free. I'll take the cheap man's route, man. Fill up the tank and just
I
kind of.
know, I know. But just trust me, I went the cheaper route. I couldn't go
Right.
because I have all the information and everything.
Right.
Well, you have an email. Maybe I can send you the information. I still have it, but it's
Yeah,
like
do that, man, for sure. Because I won't pay $100. I know that, right? I know that already.
but I wouldn't doubt if you can actually, when they leave, you can actually follow them. But you got to have a good car because they really go through this. I guess this mountain. They go into the deep forest and mountains and then you're gonna feel some wicked stuff. So yeah, but it's awesome. Sedona's full of non-humans and beings. I don't think you're gonna bump into more non-humans than anything else. So it's been a pleasure. Just wanted to tell you all, if you guys have a spiritual experience, I did go to a bunch of sacred springs in Florida, which was Ichituckney River, and then I went to another spring which the government closed down. It was a healing center where people would go from all over the world to heal, and guess what? They closed it down. How about that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went into it, and it's like pure sulfur. It was like and I'll tell you what experience I had with it. So search for that spring. It's in Live Oak. You can go there, and that's in the center of Florida, above Orlando. And when you get in that spring, when you get out, all night long, you're going to get like these hot flashes all night. So I did have a transformation there, and I wanted to thank God here publicly. So, and all of you guys, and before you go on that trip, Shane, you make sure that you meditate and all that, okay? Before I leave you,
Oh, definitely.
I do want you back again and helping the community and bring all your treasures back over here so we can see them.
Definitely, man. I might live stream from the highway. If I get sleepy or something, I think I'm going to go live and just stream while I'm going down the highway. At least I'll have some people to keep me company and keep me awake. But I am driving in the daytime. I do like to drive at night better, but, I just, I don't know, just being by myself. And I don't want to have car problems and be stuck somewhere in the middle of the night in the desert or something. So.
Oh, that's so beautiful, yeah.
But I know I have angels taking care of me. I'm not worried about it at all, or I wouldn't go,
The best thing is to do is don't put any filters in your observation. Just be open for all and know that rest in the security that you have beings that are taking care of you. The ones that So if you do that, then you'll be more open than trying to do it yourself. So it
Yeah.
has to do with, I guess, awareness, becoming more self-aware. This is going to make you more. It's going to make you enlightened to the point where you're going to come back with a different way of looking at things. So totally. So
Yeah, I might actually
I'm
get
really
a.
happy for you.
This is just for the viewers that's hung around this long and stuff. But I might actually get a QHHT or a BQH session while I'm there, so, and it'll be my first
Oh,
one. So if things work out, if I'm too tired or something, I might not do that. But I do have some secret plans in place if they work out. So that'll be even more stuff I can share with you guys. So we'll see what happens though.
I think, yeah, and then you never know. Maybe just have a night here where you show off some memorabilia, some stuff, Okay.
Yeah.
I brought these magnetic balls. I brought some. I bump into these staffs look like Moses' rod or something, and I use them in the caves. So the rods I got here that I use to walk with, because I'm disabled, they actually been in all the caves.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
So you can
storing up that
imagine what's
energy.
like. When they do, I gave one to the big bird, and it's like he felt the energy. So it's been to miles of caves. So it's like special.
Oh
And
yeah.
then like that and stuff like that. Like if you're gonna like go on get something with you in your hand, take it with you like an item, a crystal or something. And then when you go into like even if you're going into like a session with the group and a conference, go with something like a double pointed quartz crystal, something, a piece of amethyst. Take it in with you, something, and then let it absorb the energies of that moment. It will have it forever,
Wow, that's
and you'll never
nice.
lose it.
Yeah, I have
Just
some
so you
stuff,
know.
some different gems that, or crystals that Jose sent me a while back in this little leather pouch she made for me, so that I can wear around my neck. So maybe I need to take that and have it with me and charge all those different ones up. And I also have a piece of rose crystal that my friend Becky from Louisiana sent me. So, or I'm sorry, Becky
Yeah,
from Indiana,
yeah.
not Louisiana, Indiana.
That's beautiful because all it is that I have a firm belief that the Atlanteans, there's crystals that store, like they just bump into the Lemurian crystals, and now we've always known about the Atlanteans, but all those crystals have knowledge in them, stored
Yeah.
information, and you can tap into it. I think they brought up here, they showed up because they need to be part of our reality. So when you bring those things, they're part of your reality.
Yeah.
You're going to impart knowledge and information and in your experiences in them. And you're going to be able to cherish it for the rest of your life. So everybody anybody here that goes on a trip, always do things like that where you can like it, but all those crystals have knowledge in them. Hold on, I'll turn by accident. So yeah, make sure that you have something like that. I think it's more like, do you know where that comes from? Think of it like this: we as humans here, when we're born with nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and when we die, or we pass away, change frequencies. Many call it. I like calling it change frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
But do you take that with you? No. Where does it stay? On the planet, right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing when you leave those things? You're helping out the planet.
Mm.
You're helping out the people here, even though you're not here. You have a moment to do that for humanity with whatever you have, and do it. Everything I have in my life, whatever I have, I always say to myself, if I'm not here anymore, how is this going to bless humanity? And I make it so that it's in that fashion a lot of things in my life. So it's kind of like, so you becoming one with the universe, becoming one with humanity, becoming one with understanding the creative laws of the universe and
Yeah.
how everything falls into place. Because right now, let's say a rock in your, let's say you go to the donut and there's a rock there and it's been there 500,000 years and you're sitting on it, you know, right now you're sitting on a rock that sat somebody 12,000 years ago, right, or something.
Right.
So he sat on it, he left something. Now you sat on it, and now you need something.
Yeah.
Now, what makes you think that another 12,000 years someone's not going to sit on it again?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's the way life is.
That's
We
pretty
have to
cool.
think.
That's a cool way to
Yeah.
think about it. And you know what? Now that I'm driving, I'm probably going to get horrible gas mileage on the way back because I'm going to be like, I think I'll take this rock back with me, throw it in the trunk, take take a little piece of the desert Sedona with me. I bet this has some energy stored up in it. You know.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're not too far off, my friend. You're beginning to tap into some wisdom that's beyond this reality. Because I studied crystals like most of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and just recently I learned that about the crystals that they can be your friends.
Yeah.
Stone, rocks, they can be your friends.
Totally. Yeah. That's
All
great,
right,
man.
thanks.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, Laz, and thanks for the idea. It's probably going to ruin my gas mileage on the way home, but I'm going to probably grab a few rocks. Bring back.
All right, man.
All right.
Thanks a lot on the chat.
Much
Thanks.
love to you, brother.
Yeah. Much love. God bless,
God
and lots
bless.
of love. All right, bye-bye.
All right. Bye bye. Awesome. Let me see if I can get to the right window here. There we go. Let's see. It's about 20 to 10. That is probably all I have time for tonight, you guys. Oh man, I'm thinking of next Friday. I will probably have to take a hiatus. My plan is to leave out Friday morning real early and get there Friday night. But we'll see what happens. Trying to think. Yeah, I might be able to do a little bit. Let me say it's going to be, trying to think of time wise. I'm actually going to gain an hour going. Yeah, we'll see what happens. If I don't come on next Friday, you know why. I'm gathering up more content that you will get to see anyway. Um, Man, I'd like to take my drone and get some aerial footage, but man, I just haven't used those things. And sometimes when you don't use them for a while, if you don't store it just properly, like the battery half charged, it can't be fully charged or empty, or it ruins it. So it's kind of hit or miss whether you get it half charged or not. But if it's working and stuff, I'll be able to have that in the trunk and hopefully get some aerial footage. I'm sure there's some really beautiful places to get footage out there. So really looking forward to it. Let me see. So don't forget about Sunday with Suso at noon on his channel, noon Mountain Time. And of course, tomorrow night, The Power of 8 at 8 with Eileen from One Channel. And really looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then if you are just tuning in, I'm going to have Sherry Wild on, the author of The Forgotten Promise. Wonderful book. She's a contactee. You're gonna just really enjoy her story. In the way that I came across her book was really a synchronicity as well. I'd gotten like Audible to get some books for a month or whatever. I'd like signed up for the free trial thing, and then I think it went over into the next month, and I ended up paying for a month. But then they give you like a free credit, and I got some Dolores Cannon books, I believe it was. and it recommended. I was like, I just got to cancel this, but I got to use this credit real fast. And I saw this book it recommended called The Forgotten Promise, and kind of read about it a little bit. I'm like, this sounds good, and that's another one of those instances where it seems like you just sort of make this really quick decision that doesn't matter really. But once I read it, I realized that there was a higher purpose for me getting that book, and now to have her on the show this coming week is just super exciting. And then, the funny thing is, I went on to another book and I didn't finish her book. And somebody on MeWe the other day told me to read her book and I should have her on as a guest. So I'm like, oh, I have that book. And I read it. I'm like, did I ever finish that? So I went and checked. And I still had like 2 chapters to go. And they were so awesome. I was like, I cannot believe I didn't finish reading that. I do that a lot. I'll just get distracted, and I'll move on to another book. And I just did that with Magenta Pixie's book because it's so long and it's so packed full of information that I like to really think about stuff, and then something else comes around and I can't wait to get back to it. It's like one of these lingering things on the shelf. I'm like, I got to get to it because I just miss it. But it's so hard to keep up with so many different books, so many different videos, so much information. It's just, oh my God, it's so mind-blowing. So much. Yeah, squirrel. Totally, Ronnie. I was thinking that too. Yeah, I'm so glad I got back to that book. And, it was a little reminder that was a synchronicity for that person to say, hey, you check out that book and send me back to it. And that actually sent me back to the Dolores Cannon book, which I realized I had a couple chapters left of Keepers of the Garden. So I got to finish that up, and now I went back and started re-listening to that. So it's just weird the way everything lines up to get to stuff, but can't wait to get back to the newest Magenta Pixie book too. So a lot to keep up with. Lots of love and light to each and every one of you guys, and we'll see you on the next one tomorrow night at 8 Eastern time. Have a good one. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.